Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Cena Podcast on the Monkey Caviar Podcast Network. I'm Tiny, your host. With me, as always, is Adam. Adam, how are you on this very happy 4th of July?
I am fantastic. How are you doing?
Good to see you. We're here to talk about last night's episode of Preacher, and wow, what an episode it was.
Yeah, it was the opening of that episode was probably, with the exception of the stuff with the cowboy, probably one of the best openings I've seen in the show.
I agree completely. I think the cowboy last week was 8 minutes of great, and this was 16 minutes of wonderful.
Yeah. So this is by far probably one of the most extended fight scenes in the series. And definitely one of the most entertaining fight scenes I've ever seen, I think, anywhere.
And a revealing episode. A lot of stuff came up.
Yes, we got some information that we were waiting to hear.
And that's the first bit is Jesse and the Angels continue their conversation from last week at the whatever the Waffle House is.
The Flavor Station?
The Flavor Station, that's right. I wonder if they got them smothered, covered, and topped.
I wish they did.
I wish they did. I know you don't have Waffle House because
I've been to Waffle House.
But yeah, I have Waffle. I have like 4 Waffle Houses because this is the South, yo.
Oh yeah, no, they're like Starbucks out there.
But yeah, we got 1 Starbucks, we got 4 Waffle Houses. So
yeah.
That tells you. But anyways, so they're at the diner. They're enjoying their smothered, covered, and topped, and the Angels tell him finally that it's not God inside of him. No. Jesse uses the word. And we find out its name is Genesis.
Yes, it's something we've been talking about since the beginning of our podcast. Is we know it's called Genesis. We were waiting for that reveal, and we finally got it. We finally got an origin as to what this is inside of Jesse.
I am so happy that we no longer have to refer to it as the power,
the entity,
or whatever. It's Genesis.
It is Genesis, and it will always be Genesis.
Was as explained. Whoops, sorry, Jesus. As explained by DeBlanc, it was a mistake brought about by the eternal war between good and evil, angels and demons. One angel, one demon. They got together. I wish they would have showed it, but they didn't. But they explained it, and I'm happy enough with that.
Well, we may still see that later on. Once Jesse starts learning more about Genesis, if they're going to stay true to the book and he's going to learn from Genesis what's going on, we may see some of these visuals as it starts unfolding in Jesse's own head.
Yeah, so I really wanted to see it go into the full Oren Ishii origin story cartoon with the Blanc narrating, but it didn't happen. And really, what could you do? I mean, to show the angel and the demon screwing, can't really do that.
Yeah,
you can do it. It's a cartoon.
It's cartoon. You can do it.
Yeah,
it'd be if they were going to do something like that. I hope that they could get Steve Dillon to at least use his artwork or his emulate his art style, because that would just be perfect for the show.
Yeah, and comic book wise, the making of Genesis is this huge giant splash page of the angel and demon together. And it's one of the most beautiful pages in the book without it being a cover.
Yeah, no, it is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I just saw it the other day. I was looking through the digital comic, and I was like, oh yeah, man. See, they got to show this.
Yeah. And like I said, we may see that now that the show's getting a second season. If they're going to start delving more into Genesis's past and some of the stuff that comes about because of Jesse's quest, if they're going that direction, we may see some of this stuff, because there's more to it that Jesse's going to learn aside from just where Genesis came from.
Right, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot to the Genesis story, how it gets out, all that, and I loved it. So what happened? I was going to skip ahead, but I'm not going to do that. I'm getting better.
Yeah,
we're learning. 6 episodes in, we're learning. Not only did it get picked up for a second season, but an extended season. So we're
13 episodes next season.
We're seeing a very Walking Dead kind of trajectory, where it was a short first season, longer second season, hopefully an even longer third season.
Yeah, and that seems to be AMC's style. They
roll out,
and that's fine. I mean, you don't want to sink all your money into one show that's not going to make it. So I get that, and if they can continue the Walking Dead route, we'll get longer seasons going forward still too. I think Walking Dead tops out at 16 episode season, so
Yeah, it does. Speaking of other shows, and I'm only going to bring it up briefly, Roadies on Showtime is amazing.
I need to catch up on that.
Cameron Crowe, and it's only done 2 episodes so far. He directed both episodes, which really shocked me. Like the first one, I was like, "This is a Cameron Crowe movie," and then the second
it's produced
episode,
by J.J. Abrams too, isn't it?
Yes, it's amazing. It's almost famous. The extended cut.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really, really good. All right, so back to our story because it's more important.
Yeah.
So after we get the whole gist of what Genesis is, DeBlanc and Fior head out into the parking lot for a lady that left the diner and commence with the beating of the week.
Yeah, that was I wasn't sure what was going on at first. You know, some random townie walks in, sits down, gets up, leaves, so they follow her out and proceed to start beating her ass.
The girlfriend screams in terror. What's going on?
Yeah, I wasn't sure, with when they talked, I think they talked about that, they weren't going to be the only ones coming after it. I think my first idea was that it may have been a demon coming after.
That's what I thought.
Because, we've shown that heaven wants us back, at least the people that know it's missing. It could stand to reason that hell would want this power too.
I had a moment where I thought it was Hoover.
That would have been very fun.
That would have. I thought, well, are they going to introduce Hoover right now? That'd be awesome. Because I thought maybe if it's not a demon, it's the Grail.
Oh, you mean Featherstone?
Featherstone. Sorry, Featherstone. But I don't want to jump into that.
I could see where you might make that assumption. That would have been an interesting way to bring them into it.
I'm going to go with the Joe rule, and I'm not going to spoil anything that may come up in the future. So I'm going to stop talking about that. But that's where my mind went.
But yeah, they just beat the shit out of this girl. It's like,
he went to town. It was truly the beating of the week in an episode where a lot of bodies died. I won't say people, I'll say bodies. A lot of bodies.
Yeah.
This was the beating of the week. It was pure, just incredible. They're stomping on her head. Jesse runs out to save, the damsel in distress for all he knows. And she seems to be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, then she turns on him, grabs him by the throat, and lifts him up.
And then he's got Fiore puts one in the back of her head, and all is good with the world. They toss her in the trunk, and we think, all right, that's taken care of. And then we see a familiar flash.
Yes, the blue flash of light.
And here she comes again, and Jesse flips shit.
Well, I think the revelation was that when they opened up her car, found the phone and the poster, that kind of gave us the idea that was an angel before
I did skip over the fact that she has her own Jesus phone.
She has her own Jesus phone, and then Fiore and DeBlanc explain exactly who she is, and we can see the difference between the Seraphim and the I think they're Adify is what they're referred to, or
something like that.
Yeah, but we can see the difference between those types of angels and the angels that Fiore and DeBlanc are, because they are serious. She was an ass kicker.
Yeah. And, she was badass. It took all 3 of them to contain the situation.
Barely. It took a 4th one eventually to contain the situation.
Well, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but they throw her in the trunk. She reinvigorates is what they're calling it, reinvigorating. Yes. And then she chases them down to the Sundowner Motel. And shit goes sideways, and it goes sideways gloriously.
Oh, yeah. It was, this looked like something out of like a video game with just, bodies stacking up and people respawning.
I was thinking exactly that. I was thinking it was like, I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption. And I'm like, the wolves just keep coming.
Yeah.
So they're in there and bodies are just piling up everywhere. And my favorite bit is she goes and reinvigorates on the other side of the wall and punches through and takes Fiore out with the dick punch. and
then the punch to the face, yeah.
And a punch to the face, takes him down, punches through, gets the blunt. Jesse shoots her, she's dead.
Yeah.
So they have a moment, and the rest of the fight is shot through the hole in the wall that she punched through, and one of her dead corpses.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So good. That was so great.
Yeah, I was trying to count how many times people died, and before they started shooting through the hole in the wall, I think I had it at DeBlanc had died twice, Fiore had died about 5 times, and the Fiore was not about 3. No.
Fiore had a great linebacker like tackle.
Yeah.
Like solid, head was up, saw his target, drove right through her, but then took one right in the face.
Well, his first death at the front door when he's like, "Oh, maybe it's somebody with the towels," and he's like, "No, it's not." Then boom, bullet through the door, right through his head.
Favorite in the fight death is when DeBlanc's in the corner and Fior walks up and goes, "Are you dying?" And he goes, "No." Smacks him with a hammer.
And he pops out of the closet.
And he pops up and explains it. Sometimes you reinvigorate here, sometimes it's somewhere else, sometimes it's longer, so they never know when they're going to come back, which sets them up to take a couple episodes off.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometime in the future.
But like some of the stuff that they were shouting, like, "Oh my God, she's got an axe!" As they're peeking, as they're panning into the hole.
Stab her gently was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I said, "Don't kill her."
Don't kill her. Yeah, yeah, she's got an axe. All kinds of craziness. But what we found out before that whole fight started was she had her own Jesus phone. Fior smashed their Jesus phone.
Yeah.
And then Jesse used the Jesus phone to get the fight going.
Well, they also mentioned something about direct lines to heaven. That's something I think they said Lubbock or somewhere near there that there's a direct line.
Oh, like a hard line?
Yeah.
Well, right on. Maybe they get better Wi-Fi in Lubbock. Well, see, that's going to get us on a road trip, and that's what we all want.
Yeah, once we hit the road, that's where things are going to get fun.
Yeah, so go Lubbock. So I wanted the bodies to pile up in the hotel room so bad that they had to like crawl out the top of the door, but it didn't get quite that bad. Cassidy shows up at one point, and he has the Genesis, like the bloody band.
Yeah, Genesis. Cassidy shows up to help, and immediately screws things up by killing the angel that they had almost restrained.
Almost, right?
And then we get the credits, and then the continuation of the fight scene, and it's just by the end of the fight scene, Jesse and Cassidy are just completely bloody. Fior and DeBlanc are just exhausted. There are bodies everywhere. I mean, not as many as you were hoping.
Like a drowning pool video.
Yeah, there were quite a few bodies left, and I wish they would have shown us like the cleanup, or what they're gonna have to do to actually get that hotel room looking somewhat back to normal.
You better call the wolf.
Seriously. Or get Walter White and a bunch of hydrochloric acid out there.
Right, something like that. So at the end of this scene, as they walk outside and get in the car, Jesse says if God wants Genesis back, he can come get it himself, which is kind of a huge statement.
Yeah, I mean, if I was kind of waiting for them to set up, a big crux of the story right there with God,
right? And
they kind of alluded to it, but we haven't got the big reveal. I'm not gonna say
I'm not
it.
Spoiling that one,
because it's a big part of the story. But I have a feeling that. Well, I mean, I don't know if we're going to see Jesse and the Angels anytime soon because he used his power on him and told him to leave him alone, stay away from him.
That's true.
So I mean, unless they reveal that through Cassidy or somebody else later on, it might be a little bit before we actually hear what happened.
Yeah, because trust me, people take that word power literally.
Yes, they do.
So right at the end, the two, DeBlanc and Fior, are standing there, and he says, well, there's always the other option. And DeBlanc says, no. And that other option has to be the namesake of our podcast.
If I had to guess, that would be...
I would think that was option 2. So he is about to come to present day, I think. And
because, they can't use the chainsaw, which was always plan B, because they can't get near him anymore.
Right. There you go. So maybe maybe they're setting that up for a kind of finale run. The big boy from 1881 is going to show up in present.
Yeah.
I'm not spoiling anything by that. If you haven't figured that one out yet, you're in trouble. These stories have to come together.
Yeah. I mean, even in the book, that was actually their first step because they never came to Earth. They just unleashed the Saint and said, "Hey, go get this back."
Right. And that was the job of Fior and DeBlanc in the comic, and so they've really beefed the characters up.
Yeah, they've given them a lot more to do because they didn't have a huge part in the book.
Right.
So they're giving them they're fleshing the characters out and giving them a lot more screen time. And for as weird as these characters are, their interactions with everybody are pretty hilarious.
They are absolutely hilarious. I don't know if it's the actors, the way they hit it, or how much room they're giving them to work with the script, but those two guys are nails. They're so good. Yeah,
it's especially Fiore. He's just as awkward as you can be.
Yeah, and bad in a fight.
Yeah.
Sorry, need a water. So after we leave there, we see Eugene's locker, and I only bring this up. It was a very short little bit, and it says "die" on the front, which is very sad. Yeah, and he opens it up, and the sticker inside is brilliant.
Yes, we see a Nirvana sticker on the inside of Eugene's locker, which goes back to his origin and what we were talking about before. Is in the book he had tried to commit suicide over the death of Kurt Cobain. Right. Him and his friend were so influenced by Nirvana that they tried to emulate Kurt's death. In the show, they talk about him, using a shotgun on himself, but with the time difference being, would Nirvana have had such an impact on him in the show? Well, now we're getting a hint that at least he was a fan of Nirvana, so it may still come together that way. We don't know yet.
I think inevitably Nirvana or Kurt Cobain's death will get mentioned in some capacity. But I think the suicide pact thing is going to end up being the Tracy Loesch girl, and it just went sideways on both of them.
Yeah. I mean, and you saw a couple different things. The locker with the word "die" on it, the table where he was sitting at lunchtime. Had something written on it.
Said "smile," something like that. I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah.
Hey, Eugene. Yeah, smile, Eugene, something like that, and it had a little pucker on it.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Let's get back to Eugene in a minute. I want to talk about Tulip and Emily. Weird bit with Tulip and Emily. I think this is the most off Tulip has been the whole show.
Yeah, I mean, she first shows up at Emily's house. Emily's home with her sick daughter. Tulip comes banging on the door, charges into the house and just screams at her, "Stay away from my boyfriend." Smashes her kid's art project on the wall and then storms out.
It's a little early to be using BF, isn't it?
It is a lot early to be using boyfriend.
I wouldn't, you got to talk to him about that before you just go throwing it around.
And especially after she just fucked Cassidy the last episode.
Right. Whore.
Yeah.
But I think it showed Tulip. We've seen Tulip be so hard in every episode. And in this episode, she kind of becomes, she's meek. And I didn't like the way it turned her character. I understand you wanted Emily and her to bond a little bit, and they did so. And she offers to run errands or watch the kids, because I would have totally let her watch my kid.
Yeah.
Like, you just came in here, wrecked her art project, which was crap. The kid has no artistic skills whatsoever.
And Emily doesn't know this, but we as the viewers know this, that Tulip's got great kid skills. Yeah. Going back to that pilot episode, she's got great children's skills. So yeah, I mean, that kid would have had a great time had Tulip been watching her for the afternoon.
She'll learn how to make a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, but I mean, some of those scenes with Emily and Tulip is like, after Tulip comes back and is helping fix the art project and they're talking. I mean, it's just kind of awkward, It's like these two women that both are hung up on the same guy, making painful small talk. Just trying not to be, trying to avoid as much awkwardness as they can.
But didn't it go from inane small talk to "I'll watch your kids" really, really fast? Yeah,
I mean, I think, this is like the first time I think we've seen Tulip like feel guilt about anything. I think she was kind of feeling guilty with, she comes in, slams shit around, causes a big scene, and then storms off.
She knows she was out of line. I mean, when the lady comes, bangs on the car window. All right, yeah, it was my bad. And I understand that. But then, she goes and runs all these errands. And I just thought it made Tulip, it was a different Tulip than we've seen in the first 5 episodes for sure.
Yeah. We're definitely seeing a more human side of Tulip. I think you're seeing that, this person does have feelings, that she does, because I mean, in the first 5 episodes, she was this bad bitch who just didn't give a shit about anything, So to see her kind of actually show some empathy and some caring for somebody other than herself. Yeah, it's very different from what we've seen.
Yeah, I agree. So that covers them for now. There was a small bit with Miles talking to the Green Acres people and about the whereabouts of their board members, and he didn't know.
Well, I don't know if he's talking to him or just listening to voice messages, because
Oh yeah, it might have been a voice message.
Yeah, because
Right.
because later on he mentions so like, oh yeah, I had like 30 messages from you guys, and my voicemail was messed up. But yeah, Miles is definitely not having a good time. In the wake
Miles is conflicted.
in the wake of Odin's business meeting with the Green Acres people at the end of last episode, Miles is definitely in a pretty awkward situation right now.
It certainly seems that way. And so we outside of the church, the sign on the board.
I love these church signs.
Yeah, they're great. And again, I heard I was watching the South by Southwest preacher panel,
mm-hmm.
and Evan Goldberg said that the signs outside the church are simply a Simpsons shout out.
Oh, okay,
so that's very cool.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go home, but you can't pray here.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had to pause and laugh at that one for a minute because
that was funny. So again, second time 10 a.m. beers is brought up.
Yes. Yeah, Tulip will not drink a beer at 10 a.m. apparently, but Jesse and Cass do not have a problem drinking a beer at 10 a.m.
Boys in their underwear drink a beer at 10 a.m.
Talking about Pulp Fiction.
Doing laundry, right? Like, it's crazy. They're talking about tattoos. And we see Jesse's got what looks like a star, a horseshoe, and a skull, right?
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
All right, that's what it looked like. And a tulip, of course. And, Cassidy's just full of ugly tattoos, so that doesn't matter.
Well, here's the thing. Cassidy asked Jesse about the one on his back, the star. And Jesse mentions he got it from a mean old lady.
Right.
Are you thinking what I might be thinking?
Huh? We got to skip ahead on this one.
Okay.
To the preview for next week.
All right.
In the preview for next week episodes, it clearly shows someone with a gun in their hand and that tattoo right here.
That's right.
Same tattoo. Gotta be family.
I really hope so. And knowing how they've changed things, I really want to see how Jesse's family is going to play into this.
I do too. I really, really hope that Clint Howard somehow makes it into this show. Clint Howard, if you're watching, or his cast, get him on this show.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Send us a message. We'll tell you what role he should be playing.
Absolutely. If you read the comic, because he's drawn like Clint Howard, and you can perfectly see him doing it.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be great. So, yeah, that's I think that was the big thing. Cassidy thinks he should give up Genesis, and Jesse has a different plan.
Yeah, Jesse, even goes back to the scene at the end of the motel where he tells him, I'm going to keep this power. I'm going to use it. He's like, I have this for a reason. Jesse is hell-bent on this mission to save his town. And now that he knows what he has and what he can do, he's ready to just lay it all out there for him. He's gonna give it to everybody.
Yeah, I think he's on a full-on Genesis power trip right now.
Yeah, you definitely see it. There were you can see him getting heated with some of those discussions with Cassidy, and almost getting downright angry at times. About this was given to me. It's given to me for a reason. I'm going to use it.
Right, and Jesse is unaware that there were other people that Genesis tried to host.
Yeah,
and they inevitably blew up, and Jesse was the chosen one. So in a way, he's right. It chose him, and that means he deserves it. But is he the man to wield the power? Exactly.
And the way he's using it now, he's not really using it to any benefit. He's giving people stupid advice.
Be patient, because I couldn't have told you that.
Oh, open your heart. Things like that.
Yeah, really good advice.
Yeah, we've seen him do some good with it, as far as the bus driver and leaving that little girl alone, and what he did for Eugene last episode with Miss Sloach.
Well, let's go to that, because that is that. Well, I guess we can't go to that yet. All right, we'll talk about that later. I don't know that the Eugene, what he did for Eugene, is being looked at as a good thing.
Well, not by Eugene, but in Jesse's eyes, he thinks he's done a good thing. Right. But yeah, I mean, that Jesse's got this power. He thinks he's trying to do good with it, but he seems to be coming to rely on it a bit too much this early. And like I've said before, something's going to backfire. Something is going to happen. And we may have seen that at the end of this episode. We may have seen that big backfire that's going to cause Jesse to reconsider this power that he has.
And it well should, because we'll get there.
We'll get there.
So I know it's like that. I love it, but I hate it, because I always want to jump ahead to that next thing. Eugene makes some friends.
Yeah.
Is this a result of Jesse's intervention with Loesch?
I'm almost positive it is. I mean,
so like they were in the area but he whispered, "Forgive him."
But
he didn't say it loud enough for all of them to hear it.
No, but from the scene of Mrs. Loesch giving Eugene a hug, I think then this is a small town. Word's going to spread.
I admit I was very scared for Eugene.
Oh yeah, so was I. When they said, "Hey, want to go see something cool?"
Yeah,
I thought they were going to just beat the shit out of him, or
not Eugene was going to catch the second beating of the week.
Yeah.
Luckily, he didn't. They did some fireworks in a sewer tunnel, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I was scared for Eugene, because I didn't realize what kind of repercussions Mrs. Loesch forgiving him was going to have. I didn't realize that was going to make the people in the town, be cool with him. And
that's obviously gotten to him a little bit.
Oh, definitely. Yes, I mean, I was definitely expecting something bad to happen to Eugene when we saw that tunnel. I'm like, ooh, this isn't going to go well for him, but it did.
I have one more thing on Tulip and Emily that I kind of skipped over here. During their conversation, Tulip was telling her where she had been, and said, Emily says, "Oh, you've been to L.A. and Hollywood." And Tulip says they're kind of the same thing, and L.A. is stupid. You got that one right.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time in L.A.
Yeah, that's where we found out that Tulip had a kid, and that they're expecting 200 people for church this weekend.
Yeah, well, at least 200 people, because she's saying that she hopes those 200 programs are enough.
Right, quite a bit bigger, and we're right about there. Jesse's hanging a loudspeaker, expecting the bigger crowd.
Yeah, and, I didn't realize what the loudspeaker was first, because the preview last week for this episode, you saw him hanging a loudspeaker, and with the stuff that's been going on, him talking about using his power. I thought he was going to try and just set this up in a way so that he could reach more people at one time, and I guess that kind of is what it is, because he's setting up an overflow section out in front of the church, right, because of the amount of people that they're expecting. So
just hangs loudspeaker. What the hell does this say? I can't even read my writing. Saving the town is his destiny, and God doesn't make mistakes. And Cassidy points out that God may not, but people are famous for it.
Yeah.
So Jesse's looking to save the whole town in one fall swoop. And I think his idea is just to get up on the pulpit with the loudspeaker and say, be nice to each other and stop fucking around.
Yeah. Again, he knows he's got this power. He knows he wants this. He's had this mission, this promise he made to his dad to save this town. That's why he came back. And now he's got the tool to make people listen to him, because in the first couple episodes, that church wasn't even half full. Now he's got people, going to be sitting outside the church because of, the kind of crowd he's drawing now. So yeah, now he's got the tools to do what it is he set out to do. And I think that's, it's the wrong way to go about it, obviously. And, he doesn't care, because he's going to be able to fulfill this promise he made.
Right. He's gone viral, and that's good for him. He's got, quite a bit of followers now. He's got the Twitter hits up.
Yeah. I mean, he's sitting there talking at the flavor station, talking about his favorite,
rank your apostles.
Rank your apostles. Yeah.
That ranking page went over huge, I guess. A lot of shares on the Facebook.
Well, they have Rank My Professor. I'm wondering if there's a Rank My Apostle website.
If not, somebody start that.
Somebody's starting it. Yeah.
The mayor comes to Jesse with a dilemma as he's setting up the overflow chairs. And the mayor says God's telling him to do one thing, and the voices in his head are telling him to do something else. To which Jesse says, if the voices are saying something different, then you're not talking to God.
Or you're just hearing what you want to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
He won't go into what his dilemma is. We, of course, know that it's these 4 dead bodies he's got to deal with because of Kin Cannon. And he deals with it, but I don't know how effective that method is.
Well, yeah, I mean, to the casual observer, yeah, car accident, charred bodies, things are, just pretty cut and dry. But if somebody looks a little bit closer and sees, holes in their chests,
charred bodies full of buckshot. Yeah,
you're gonna have some explaining to do.
Yes, but he did get on the phone and politely call them and say, yeah, these guys are bad Sunday.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, we haven't seen the last of this. I mean, it's going to come back to bite him in the ass, and I don't know how. I don't know if it's going to be anything major, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to blow back on Odin because Odin's Odin.
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely a Mayor Miles problem.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's going to become an Emily problem.
Maybe.
I think it might become an Emily problem, and he'll have to deal with that.
Yeah, there's because I don't know necessarily how it's going to be his problem though, because he set up the meeting, but he didn't do anything bad. I guess the cover up.
Yeah, I mean it would just be the cover up. I mean they're going to put him in the room.
How are you going to stand against Odin? I mean,
but they're going to put him in the room with Odin. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, Odin's one of those guys you don't want to mess with, and everybody in the town knows it. So he's in a bit of a pickle there.
Yeah, Odin's the Dawn of the town, and he really runs shit. But so Cassidy shows up, and Tulip shows up with the Sacramento wine and the flyers and whatnot, and finds Cassidy in the closet, or Cassidy finds her in the closet, and then he realizes that she is Jesse's Tulip.
Yeah,
and the poor guy genuinely looked brokenhearted.
He did. I mean, it was funny. First, like, oh, hey, you're looking for me, and she's like, "What are you doing here?"
Right,
and he's like, then he realizes, it's like, oh shit, you're his Tulip. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. During the conversation with Jesse and Cassidy in his underwear, he was like, "What'd you do last night?" And he's like, "Nothing much. Fell off a building, fell in love, went to the hospital. Nothing to worry your head about."
Yeah.
So. He obviously has the big love for Tulip, and he now knows that cannot be.
Yeah. I mean, it seems a little quick for him to have fallen so fast for Tulip, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely some feeling there. But I mean, I don't think he's just gonna be the end of the world for him. I mean,
sure Cassidy bounce back.
Yeah. I mean,
barely resilient.
Going back to the book, this whole Jesse, Cassidy, Tulip triangle plays a big part in the end of the story, and it'll be. I'm curious to see if they're gonna really play that up at all in this show.
It is much later in the comic, though. I mean, it's really quite late, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't from the beginning. From the beginning, they were kind of adversarial.
Yeah, adversarial, standoffish at first, and then they kind of had this understanding of each other, and we're fine going along. Even though, I think Tulip knew early on that Cassie was just a giant fuck up. She saw through his bullshit, and whereas Jesse had this whole, he's a good guy, he's my best friend, Cassie can do no wrong, mentality. And we're not seeing that so far in the book, in the show. Maybe we'll see a bit more of this relationship, this bromance kind of blooming in later episodes.
Like I said, once we get on the road, I think that'll really cement them together.
Yeah, I mean, I think because what really said it in the book was, Cassidy's failed attempt to save his life from the Saint in the first storyline. That's what really kind of cemented their friendship there and set things going in that direction. So we may see something like that. I mean, Cassidy's obviously come to his rescue a couple times. The bar fight, with the chair, right. Showing up at the Sundowner Motel, the Angel. And they've all pretty much well, I mean, this one kind of backfired at the motel, but that's what Cassidy does. Cassidy tries to help out and ends up making things worse more often than not.
It's a fuck up with great intention.
Exactly. That's the best way to describe him.
So what's with the putt club?
I don't know,
right? But there's something about that
club. Yeah. That club. Yeah. It's
I don't know why I wrote down putt club, but I was like, that putt club was important to Jesse and Tulip. So
it was. Yeah.
I'm sure we're gonna see a golf date one day.
Yeah, so, I'd love to see mullet Jesse, long haired Jesse and Tulip, playing mini putt somewhere. Yeah, that could be fun.
Great. Rolled up little Don Johnson sleeves. Oh man, the timing of this is bad because we won't get that nice '80s Jesse vibe.
Oh, that would be great.
Oh, I would love it. We'll just move it back in time. There's a large congregation outside the church. We can hear them. The door's closed. Jesse's getting ready to open. Emily comes in and he makes sure to thank her and Tulip for setting it up. And
yeah,
that goes over like a part in church.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it last week. Emily is not a big fan of what Jesse's been doing lately with the TV, with the betting the land to get Odin into church. And she's kind of expressed herself, and she definitely makes it known again that she doesn't like what Jesse's doing. She likes the outcome that's coming out of this. She likes the fact that there are bodies in church now.
I don't think she does. I think that she had Jesse all to herself, and there was nobody there on Sunday, so it wasn't a big deal. And it was just them two versus the world.
Yeah.
And now everybody in their lives have separated and pulled them apart. And she gives Tulip this little bit of stuff to do, and Tulip gets all the credit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that definitely ate at her. I mean, you could see, as soon as he said that, she was not happy with that.
Right. And so to get her spite on, she lets Eugene in before the service.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though Jesse said, no, I'll deal with it afterwards.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and we find Eugene is
progressive of Emily.
Yeah. Eugene's not a happy guy.
No,
which
Eugene
doesn't make a lot of sense, but I mean, he's got friends all of a sudden now that are showing him really cool firework tricks.
Nobody's, breaking into his house and leaving shotguns for him.
Right? You think things would be looking up, but again, they're using Eugene to be this voice of not dissension, but I guess I don't know what you call it, but he's like the voice of reason.
Yeah, he's kind of showing Jesse the bad side of the powers. Yeah. And I mean, it's not even bad. I mean, what Jesse did for Eugene was not, nobody would consider it a bad thing. It
wasn't malice.
No.
And I mean, yeah, but for Eugene, it wasn't authentic.
No.
Thinks it was cheating that he used the power, and that's not what God would want. And Jesse's response is, well, God, this power is in me, so that is what God wants.
But here's the thing. Does Eugene realize that Jesse has this power?
I think he knows something was up over at the Loach place.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Because, I mean, I don't think anybody, with the exception of Donnie, who has witnessed this power firsthand, and Cassidy, I don't think many people really realize that Jesse's got this ability to make them do whatever it is he says to do.
Yeah, I think based on their conversation in the pews.
Eugene might have an inkling that there's something going on there.
Yeah, he's using something that's not quite right. And like I said, he thinks it's cheating. Jesse doesn't.
Yeah, he's begging Jesse to take it back.
Just keeps pressing his point.
Yeah, he's begging Jesse to undo what he did. Eugene wants to go back to the way he was. He wants to go back to people hating him and stuff. Which, for as messed up as this character is, you'd think he'd welcome this break from the torment and the ridicule and the fact that everyone in town just wants him to die.
Yeah, but if you're used to the ridicule and all that, and then all of a sudden that's taken away and you have something new.
Yeah. But I mean,
but
at the same time too, I mean, look at, the relationship with his dad, he knows how much this whole thing weighs on his dad, and having this being lifted off their shoulders, you think would be, great for him, because his dad could stop worrying about this now. We haven't seen how Sheriff Root has handled this newfound change in Eugene's life, with people not wanting him to die anymore. So, I mean, we've only got that from one side of the story. We only got Eugene's perspective on how this has affected him. But yeah, clearly it has affected him in a big way that he wants Jesse to undo this whole thing.
Yeah, undo it, and keeps pushing Jesse to the point where Jesse screams.
Jesse just snaps at him.
And it wasn't meant to be literal.
Yeah, because how would you expect something like this to be taken literally? I mean,
it's a turn of phrase. We all use it.
Yeah.
And it was, instead of get off my back, he told him to go to hell, and Eugene poof was gone.
Yeah, you heard a little bit of rumbling, and Jesse turns around, and Eugene is not there anymore. It's like, yeah, I mean,
we're in undiscovered territory here, folks, because we know nothing about this.
I mean, we've seen the literal power of the literal list of Jesse's power with, open your heart. My favorite use of the power and in the literal sense that it's taken comes from issue 4 of the series, when Jesse tells Sheriff Root to go fuck himself.
Right.
And
he literally does.
He cuts off his penis and shoves it in his asshole.
I love our podcast so much.
So I guess if you believe in heaven and hell, you could, he would understand that maybe this would be happening. But when you tell somebody to literally go to some place that you're not even sure exists and they disappear, that's gonna open your eyes a little bit.
This was not a power that was available in the comic.
No,
not at all. You couldn't, he couldn't be like, go to Buffalo and bam, you're in Buffalo.
No, he could make you teleport.
I mean, right, total teleporter. So no, teleporting wasn't a part of this. So we don't know what's going to go on, but I have a theory, and if he's going to go to hell, literally, then he's got to meet somebody in hell that's worth meeting. Because why else would you send someone there?
Yeah.
And I go to our podcast namesake once again.
Yeah.
Would the Saint of Killers be in hell? No, not comic book wise, no. But based on events we should see in 1881, some people might suppose that he would go that way.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the Saint's origins, not trying to spoil too much, but he does go to hell. That's where his origin takes him. I'm not going to go into detail why he's there and what happens while he's there, but suffice to say that he does end up in hell at some point. And that's what leads to him eventually becoming the Saint of Killers, who the angel of death per se, technically. So who knows how long, he spends in hell in this torment that he's going through. And this may be that Eugene sees the cowboy, in the course of his torment. He may have been hundreds of years that he's down there on Earth time or whatever. So yeah, I mean, we could see that, play. We might see him actually as the Saint of Killers. We don't know. I mean,
we don't know. Right now he's a cowboy, and that's all we know.
But there's got to be a reason for sending him to hell, like you said.
There has to be. Yeah, you don't send somebody to hell for no reason, and you certainly don't send them there without showing it. So
yeah,
get on the ball. I can't wait to see this. I don't think it's going to be soon either. I think we're at least 2, maybe finale before we see Eugene again.
Maybe. Because I know the preview for next week's episode has, Root looking for his son.
Looking for him. Yeah, he's out there looking for him. And like I said, Jesse's family might come into next week's episode, it looks like, a little bit, based on the tattoos and the promo.
Yeah.
And that pretty much covers our episode. I found one question this week that I thought was great. So Missy McDermott on one of the Preacher Facebook groups said says Tulip said she once had a kid. Did it die? Was it taken away? Did it run away? Was it a goat? I don't think it was a goat.
Knowing Seth and Evan, anything's possible, but yeah, I'm leaning towards not a goat, but
possible goat. I'm going to say 50-50 goat to not a goat. As to the others, no idea.
Yeah, this is completely unfamiliar territory as far as the character goes. In the book, she never had a child. Yeah, like I said, I've mentioned before that the character of Tulip in the show is completely different. I mean, almost 100% different from the Tulip in the comic books. So any backstory that they're giving her is pretty much unknown to the readers of the book. With the exception of her and Jesse having a past, which is about the only thing that's similar between the two mediums. Everything else is almost entirely made up for the show.
I still love Tulip. I still love Rudnega.
Don't get me wrong. Great character.
No, the way the show's portraying her. I think it's a little bit different. Well, a lot different. It's been a long time since I read the books, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it died, taken away, kidnapped. I would imagine taken away or kidnapped more than died.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows? This might be something, a point that comes back in a later season. We might see something about her child. Maybe it was taken away or kidnapped.
Just posted something. Hold on. We were just talking about her. Let me see what it says. Go ahead with your point.
Yeah. It may be a future story point that we see, that the child was kidnapped or taken away, and they either go after it or, they encounter this child somewhere later on. So, I mean, they could do anything with this storyline. I mean, typically they're not going to make a point like that just for no apparent reason whatsoever. So, I mean, if they're making something like that, there might be something more of it coming later on, which would be cool to see.
It would be very cool to see. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for us this week. Do you have any thoughts about next week that you want to talk about? Anything else?
No, I'm still there's a lot of stuff that I still want to see how they're going to wrap up. The Green Acre stuff. I really want to see. I really want them to explain what Odin was doing at the end of last episode. With we didn't
get a lot of Odin, and
we didn't get any Odin this epised.
Yeah, and I really wanted it after that cliffhanger. But I can take a week off and give me some next week, and I'll be good.
There's a lot of story that they're covering, so you can't get you're not going to get a resolution to something every episode, So taking a week off with Odin is fine. I really, especially after Jesse having used the power on him, I want an explanation as to how he was still able to casually murder 4 people with a shotgun,
just casually.
Yeah.
La la la.
So.
Yeah, I looked like in the preview that Donnie's back with his Civil War reenactor buddies.
Yeah,
that's going to be fun. That should be a big fight or shootout or at least a Mexican standoff. So,
well, maybe if they're brandishing muskets, that would make for an interesting gunfight.
Greatest fight ever if it's muskets. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here and enjoy our 4th of July. We hope you do the same thing. I had a good time today. Thanks.
Yeah, this was great.
Sorry we did it early. It looks like we actually had some live viewers today.
Awesome.
Missy McDermott, whose question we asked, said that she got a shout out, so she was listening. So that's awesome. So thank you.
Thank you, Missy.
Leave your comments, leave your questions, and we'll get back to them next week when we're back on at 11 p.m. Eastern. Until then, love many, trust few, and do harm to no one.